Hello and welcome to Ginger Prime. My name's Brian if you're new around here, but if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, Soul Nation. Your smile lights up the room whenever you walk into it. Really brightened my day by being here, by the way. I really appreciate it, and that's what you get for subscribing. Free compliments at the start of my videos, and I mean them from the bottom of my heart. So, today I'm going to spend some time kind of going over the controller, especially as it relates to Steam input. Yesterday, I released my New World Ultimate Controller Guide, and it's got a lot of bells and whistles. And I wanted to kind of take this time to teach you how to go about setting it up your own. You do not need to follow my method, whether it's for New World or any other game using the Steam controller configuration tool. So I want to sit down today and kind of walk you through it, walk you through your options, and hopefully help inspire you to kind of play around with this tool yourself and hopefully come up with some really cool options for playing the game. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm actually just going to right click on Last Epoch here, and I want to say Properties and go to the controller tab. This is to really kick it off. You can then choose to enable Steam input. I get a lot of questions when it relates to like PlayStation controllers. I just wanted to start this off right here. By default, it says usually use default settings. So if a game naturally supports controller, like Last Epoch does, this is something to kind of point you to as a starter point. So if a game doesn't naturally support that, you might have to be doing this as a first and foremost step. Now, if I jump into the game real quick, hitting your Shift and Tab by default, you can rebind these keys, but Shift and Tab to default to bring up your Steam overlay. Clicking in the upper right hand corner for the controller configuration will bring up your controller configuration tool. Now up here at the top, and this is again focusing in around New World, but you can take this and make this your own. You can see here I have multiple scenes all set up here, and you can add what they're called action sets. In that way you can sit here and click add. You can name your action set, you know, any given Sunday, and you can even say copy from an existing action set. So let's say I'll just take my world action set, for example, and now I have to the far right any given Sunday. And so this then gives me my controller set up in Scheme, and this is just where you would go in here. You can start to pick and choose your various actions. In this case, I have block aim, and you also see this setting right here. This is a scene switching setting, an action switching setting. Now, if you want to have it function as a button, you want to make sure you turn your toggle multiple button on. I'm going to say this is going to be my right mouse, and then I'm going to have it also switch to a apply action layer. And then I can pick an action layer that's actually a part of this. Now, I don't have action layers set up here, so let me just back out and cancel these changes real quick for you. You can hit escape if the buttons decide not to show back up here. I've run into a little bit of frustration sometimes with the Steam user input. Let's go to the world where you see here I have these various action layers. So in this case, block hold set here, it is going to have this multiple action set, apply action layer, and I can set it to an aiming action layer in which that I can now have things function a little bit differently. A couple other options you actually have here. You can say hold action layer. As the action itself is pressed, you can still set it to the aiming only while that button is being held. And the final option in this regard is to remove action layer. And I'll show you guys where I actually have that set up as an example. Let me back out and not actually save any of these changes. So where is a good example of an hold and a remove action layer? So in this case, for my directional buttons, I have the up button on my D-pad set to a hold. If I select it, I can see here it's set to my consumables. If I look at my hold action layer, I can now say that it is currently using my consumables, and then I would hit OK, but I'm going to back out. And what does that actually look like? Well, let's go to the action layer itself, and you can see here the radical menu is now active. And radical menu button up, down, left, and right are all set to use a certain number on the keyboard, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in case of New World. But it also then has remove action layer, so that when I use that, when I press up, down, left, and right, it actually takes off that action layer and returns me to where I was. And in this case, I'm on the world and using that overview. A couple other things you'll see here. You can see various things that pop up. You have, an insane amount of settings that honestly, to go through that, it would be probably a 2-hour long video. And I don't want to do that. I want to try to keep this as informative, and also just at the same time respect your time as well. But that's just kind of one aspect of it. Another good example here is camera. I have it now where this acts as a zoom in and a zoom out. And to activate the camera back into the world, I have that functioning off of holding down the down button. Let me just kind of show you that actually in game so you can get a clear picture of it. So to highlight this for you in game, like if I just press down on any of the D button, it's actually acting as my ping system. But if I hold it, and then I can use up and down on the right stick to actually interact with my camera to allow me to zoom in and out. So there's an example of the hold action layer and the remove action layer working within the game itself. All right. So a couple of things that I really kind of want to dive into. Let's talk about changing scenes, right? So if I click on this, this is going to be using my tab key for New World to bring in my inventory, and it's going to switch me to my inventory scene. So then what that means is that all of a sudden the buttons can have a secondary function when they're within this scene selection. So that gives me the ability to salvage, to do different mouse clicks, to do discarding via shifting, also to be able to split, repair, exit inventory, equip and unequip items. So that all of a sudden these instead of acting as like jump and things like that, they are context sensitive based off of the fact that I use the inventory to switch to this mode. Same kind of concept for making camp, menus, chat, and then obviously as I jump over here to the new Any Giving Sunday. So within that, so when you do a copy, it doesn't obviously copy action layers, but these are action layers are allowing you to have kind of a subsection of skills that when you're interacting, you can actually kind of toggle those on. So I find for me personally, action layers work great with holding and different like kind of temporary functions so that I don't have to necessarily like completely change the scene, that I could literally just kind of, okay, I'm within the scene and this is kind of a sub scene if you're thinking of it in terms of kind of nesting. All right, I want to show some button mapping and pressing because this is going to be ultimately where things get really important. Regarding the weapon binding, you can see here I've got it swap weapon set to a specific key. You're going to want to make sure that your game also mirrors whatever key you're pressing. If you've defaulted, changed your maps, you're going to see a couple different things there. This is what's called a regular press. And then you have different activators for the different buttons. A long press, and you can designate how long of a press time that you need. It will actually have a different binding. In this case, a weapon sheathing system. I can add any kind of activator that I want pressing down. The drop down for the activators: regular press, double press, long press, start press, release press, and corded press. This is going to give you a lot of functionality. And if you want to go ahead and just remove the activator, in case you're demoing this in a video guide, you have that functionality right there as well. You can adjust all of this, and you can make just different things function. Like, if you want it to be a toggle, if you want it to be instead of a press, you have that that functionality here as well. Hold to repeat, turbo mode, and more. Like the system gives you so much flexibility. Here is in case where you have a regular press interact, in this case my F key, and a double press as a secondary interact T, as opposed to like a long press or a short press. You can just have that as a button press and more. Same concept over here. You can actually, again, have multiple long presses. I got a double press, that's pressing the the button twice, or that can jump me into a long press or an even longer press where you can see the hold time has been increased as an escape key to cancel out anything like that nature. And this is just regular press and long press for the A button in that regards. So that is kind of what I want to sit down and show you today. It's easy to start to create various different action layers, and it's very easy to create these. Honestly, the only other thing I would do is that I would recommend that as you make changes, be sure to save them as you play with them. If you find something that you really enjoy, you can always upload them to the community. They will say play with your settings as often as possible to really kind of give it the most functionality available. And that should be the set. That should give you hopefully the information that you might need to know when kind of playing and making these different changes. Guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments below. Hopefully this video has been a help on how to configure your controller within the Steam ecosystem and the Steam controller config. And hopefully this is a good addition to the video that I put out yesterday in case you guys have any questions or you want to make changes on your own. For Ginger Prime, my name is Brian. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for being here. Hopefully you have a fantastic day. I hope to see you in my next video, but until then, take care.
A little off topic, but I just want to say thank you for providing me a friendly, fun, and optimistic community. Baby, coming from an MMO community filled with toxicity, this is an amazing breath of fresh air. Keep it up, baby. Oh, yeah.